Jay, do you have a different approach to when it comes like an executive at a Fortune 500 or Fortune 1000 that has a budget, but it's not really his money. He's actually asked to spend the money versus a business owner that's his money now. Is there a different approach based on how you approach your entire process?
Hmm. That's not where I thought you were going to go with the question, but it's an interesting one. I haven't thought about it. Um, I don't know that it would change. I think, okay, when we used to work with startups, it was all they were taking money out of their own checking account to pay for our stuff, and so they were definitely there was more there's more risk for them. They took their time making that decision, and so they kicked the tires a lot more. I think it's just that you trade type of risk. I'm not sure the approach would change because instead of it being loss of money, now you have loss of reputation. And it's hard to decide like what one is worse in the corporate world. Like I brought these guys in and they totally blew it. I look like shit versus I brought these guys in, I spent $1,000 or $10,000 and it didn't work out. Sometimes it's easier to just like part ways with lost money than like damaged
Yeah.
reputation. So, but like in the end, it's solving the same problem, which is demonstrating that you're the right person to work with and de-risking their investment in working with you. So I always say it's like Wedge Offers is a way for you to take your expertise and put it in your like your client's hands. Is that in that sense, they're paying you to kick the tires, which is like flipping the model on its head.
Yeah.
Because like most of the stuff that you're going to do is there's a way to charge for it. Even if you make it free, there's a way to do it. Like I always talk about free with friction. So what you're not doing is you're just showing up and pitching into the void. You're not doing free work, which corporate will, like corporate used to ask us to do free work to prove that we were the right group. And then that was like very custom, very much throwaway if it didn't work out. So like at the end of the day, I think you solve those two different characters with the same approach. It's just sort of like there's different things at risk for them.
So then a couple other questions for you. So a big piece of what it sounds like you're doing here, aside from the ability to establish trust sooner, is it helped when you're especially selling to these companies with a long approval cycle and bureaucracy by, in essence, reducing that initial investment, which then means you don't need to go through as many approvals oftentimes, or the risk feels lesser than, and people are less worried about that, especially when you think about some of these big companies where it's like, yeah, if it's a 10 grand spin versus 100 grand spin, it's like, okay, it's I don't want to call it a rounding error, but it is in some of these large companies based on their budgets. Can you share an example of maybe what a client has done where they had an offering where they then turned into this specific wedge service, just so we could get a little bit more crystal clear on it?
Yeah, like a lot of my clients are consultants, and so they have like a 6-figure or 7-figure thing. And I will help them. Not everyone loves to be a trainer, and it's a different skill set to know how to teach a thing versus just do a thing.
Yeah.
But I found that like training, there's a different mode to it, because a lot of the time now, instead of having one deliverable for one team,
Yeah.
in a sense, you can fill the room with 30 people. And so you're amortizing the risk, and you're sort of like, you're investing in 30 people in the company versus sort of like one department or like one outcome. And also training in that sense can come out of different budgets. So like multiple stakeholders can take their P&L budget and fund it. So you're kind of like spreading it around. And training in general there's an upskill to it. So it starts to, there's like HR and sort of those functions see it as an investment in the people and retaining good talent. So training seems to be like a wedge to consulting in itself. And you can also, the cool thing about training, consulting is hard to customize unless you have like modularity to it. And then you can pull, like, instead of the kit and caboodle, we'll just do this part of it. that happens sometimes, but training is cool because you can custom build it for them.
Yeah.
Like instead of 50 people, we'll train 5. Instead of our 1 week training, we'll do like a half day virtual session. And so like you can play with the numbers, and like that $10,000 that threshold definitely like flies below the radar. A lot of people have discretionary budget to put that on a credit card. So like knowing those things in
Yeah.
advance, training can make some inroads that consulting sometimes bumps up against.